All is well, at the Michael household. How are things going for you guys, and what's this new normal that you're trying to figure out?
Well, it is a new thing for sure, but we're all trying to adjust. And I had a call with our head coaches on Monday morning, first thing, just to talk about this working remotely concept. And I really challenged them to take this opportunity to really get to know each other more. Is as odd as that sounds, but really challenge them to, academic performance is our top priority. Recruiting is next. But take this opportunity to get to know the other head coaches. We're going to set up a weekly call with all of our head coaches to talk about best practices, whether that's recruiting, whether that's off-season stuff, whatever it might be, just to really engage that piece. And the other thing that I challenge them on is we have to find a way to make this come out good for us somehow. And if we think about how difficult it is going to be for us, or what we're missing out on, or whatever it is, we're going to get rolled over in a hurry. And so I've just tried to really talk about being positive with them. Our glass has got to be half full. We can't dwell on what we can't do or what we can't even control. We're going to get something new dealt to us maybe every day. And let's adjust to it and figure out how we can use what's in front of us to our best abilities. That means being creative, and I feel confident in the group that we have that we'll come out on this end of it in a better place.
How important is your leadership in all of this, and how much do you take that on yourself? Because in a world full of questions, it seems like everyone, I imagine, is looking to you and your department.
Well, that's the challenge, certainly, Brett, that I think it is an incredible opportunity to lead at times like this when there's adversity, to be able to provide that guidance and in some ways try to provide some calmness in some uncertain times. That all being said, you're exactly right. There's a ton more questions than what we have answers for. And that's been going on for the last 10 days to 2 weeks, really. And I've described it as a rapidly changing environment for us. And that's what I've tried to talk to our staff about, is we're going to get to the information as we have it, but be ready for it because it could change soon. But still yet being able to provide them with some structure that allows them to move forward and know that, hey, we're going to be okay through this. But it's a great opportunity, and really look forward to engaging with our group in those ways.
I know you feel terrible for your spring sports that don't get to even really start the majority of their season, or a lot of it is gone now. I'm curious your take on football, and a person in Adam's case who really needs that time to be with his team and kind of cultivate what they did last fall. How does this impact him in your eyes, and how does he overcome this?
Well, it's certainly not ideal, right? It's a time when we've really put some things in place. As difficult as 1-11 was last year record-wise, we made so many strides. And we made strides on the field, even though we just had the one win. So to pick up on that and to have those 15 practices this spring was going to be huge for us. Now, again, I feel blessed and fortunate that Adam's a guy that adjusts and rolls, and his staff is doing the same thing. So it's not an ideal situation. They have embraced the technology. They're looking at different ways to be creative with Zoom, with different opportunities to be able to interact and communicate with the guys, to be able to do as much as they can to utilize the time from an academic standpoint, but to provide some structure with the kids too, even though that's a very, very small window each week that we're going to have to be able to do that.
I know you wouldn't trade any of this for anything that happened, but I'm curious, Tom. Will you save money at all? I mean, you're not making money on spring sports to begin with, right? Those teams aren't playing now. Are you guys? Do you pocket that money that you weren't able to spend? I mean, how does that work from a financial standpoint for you guys? If that all makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're certainly going to have fewer expenses. in the spring as we move forward with the cancellation of the seasons and practices and not having kids on campus. And there's a certain component that we have to budget in each year. As strange as it sounds, is some kids don't have insurance when they come in, and if they get injured while they're participating in their sport, we pick up the tab for that, and that cost has been rising year over year. So in some ways, we won't have those injuries to take care of because of that, but. So there is some savings from an expenditure standpoint, but when you think about that compared to what these kids have had to go through, it's not anything that you can really. I've described it as unmanageable. It's getting the rug just completely pulled out from under you. Our softball team. I was in conversations. It's been 2 weeks ago, yesterday, Wednesday night, they were planning on busing up to Midway at midnight for a 6 a.m. flight to Florida for their spring break trip. And I was on the phone with my president. I talked to Larry Lyons. I'd actually talked to Josh that night. He was driving back from Indianapolis from Big Ten meetings and just had some conversation with those guys about where are you at with all of this. So, I make the phone call at 9 o'clock on that Wednesday night to tell the coach. Now, she was aware when we were having those conversations, but to tell her, hey, you can't go. We're not letting you go through the airport, getting on a plane with everything that's going on. And it was the right decision because had we done that Thursday, the way everything progressed so quickly, by the time they landed in Orlando, we would have told them get back on a plane or now you're going to bus back. Yeah. So that conversation is hard, and I feel just absolutely miserable for the kids. I can't, as a former athlete, I can't imagine preparing to go to Oklahoma City my senior year to play in the NCAA tournament, and right before we're ready to go, they say, hey, by the way, the tournament's been canceled. And even though we're playing in that 8-9 game against Georgetown and I think Oklahoma State maybe or Arkansas, I can't remember who was waiting next, whatever it was. It would have just been devastating that you play that entire time and then that get pulled away. And for the spring sports that, I've got a first-year softball coach, head coach, and she's 11-10 and really getting the culture where she wants it. And boom, it gets just jerked out from under her. And there's just tons of emotions that go through things like that.
And the money piece obviously is second to all of that, but it's just an interesting part to me that is like, okay, for a mid-market team like you guys and a mid-major team, that always is a part of what you're trying to do.
Well, and especially Brett, when what we've gone through, I said to somebody earlier today, I'm finishing up my 6th year here at EIU, and the budget stuff that we've gone through since I've been here and now this and what kind of financial impact, I thought the budget thing was pretty difficult and now this. And that's why I think the resiliency says, man, we got to find a way to come out on the back end of this somehow better. Whether that's just that we've gotten more creative, whether that's we've done some things technology-wise to help us, whatever that is, we've got to be in a better place.
If the NCAA does allow spring sport athletes to get a second chance, how will that affect you guys in that? Obviously, I'm sure you'd love to bring them back and give them that opportunity, but as a leader of an athletic department, how do you process what that may look like?
Well, it's a big financial implication to everyone, right? It's certainly for us, it's very impactful, but for Illinois and what Josh has, that's a financial impact to them as well. And I think each institution, I say that it would appear that that's where that is going, although that decision hasn't been completely made. I think next week that will take place. But I think each institution is going to have to determine how they handle that process. In some ways, I don't know that that's completely fair. That we're put in that spot in terms of it'd be great just to say, yeah, everybody gets to come back and do that. Financially, I don't know if that's going to be possible, and it's a real concern that Dr. Glassman and I will have that conversation about as that decision continues to be fluid, and then we'll have to determine how we move forward with those student athletes, because it is very real.
Unprecedented stuff. There's no doubt about that as we all try and figure out what this all is going to look like. What has you most excited about getting back to hopefully what is a normal, quote unquote, routine for you guys and for you as and your staffs, and coaches, whenever that may be, Tom?
Yeah, I think just in the 4 days here that we've been working remotely, it will be just the interactions again, having the kids back around. I've got 2 college kids here at home right now. That is great to have them home, but it's going to be good to get everybody back in place, and the normalcy will just be good. Although whatever used to be normal may not be normal as we move forward too, or it certainly will be a while before that takes place through the summer, and who knows where it goes from there too.